The late afternoon sun dipped low over the cracked asphalt of Maple Street, casting long shadows across the modest two-story house at the corner. Its faded blue paint peeled at the edges, and the front porch sagged under the weight of years and neglect. Inside, Daniel Hayes sat at the kitchen table, his calloused hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. The faint hum of a neighbor's lawnmower drifted through the open window, mingling with the rhythmic ticking of a wall clock. Bills were stacked in front of him: electric, water, mortgage, each stamped with bold red letters, past due. His jaw tightened as he stared at the numbers, their weight heavier than the sledgehammer he swung daily at the construction site. Another late shift tomorrow, he thought, rubbing the ache in his shoulder. Noah needs new shoes. The fridge is half empty. And the roof. God, the roof's gonna cave in if I don't fix it soon. At 38, Daniel was a man built of grit and quiet resolve. His broad shoulders carried the scars of a decade in construction. Sunburned skin, rough hands, and a back that groaned after 12-hour shifts. His dark hair was streaked with early gray, and his hazel eyes held a weariness that hadn't always been there. 6 years ago, when cancer stole his wife, Sarah, it left a void in his heart and a 10-year-old boy who still asked why Mommy wasn't coming back. Daniel had no answers then, and he had none now. All he had was work, Noah, and the stubborn pride that kept him from asking for help. Daniel's face softened, the bills momentarily forgotten. 79, huh? You're gonna be teaching me soon, kiddo. He ruffled Noah's hair, pulling him into a quick hug. Noah's grin was a light in the dim kitchen, a reminder of why Daniel pushed through the long days. He's worth every ache, every late night. Dad, can we do the volcano experiment this weekend? You promised. Noah's eyes sparkled with the kind of hope only a child could hold on to. Daniel hesitated, glancing at the bills. Baking soda and vinegar weren't expensive, but time was. We'll see, buddy. Gotta finish some stuff first. Noah's face fell slightly, and Daniel's chest tightened. I'm letting him down again. He forced a smile. How about you set the table? Spaghetti's almost ready. As Noah scampered off to grab plates, Daniel's gaze drifted to the small ad he'd pinned to the fridge. Room for rent. Upstairs bedroom. $400 a month. Call Daniel. It had been Sarah's idea years ago to fix up the attic into a spare room for extra cash. They'd laughed about it then, dreaming of family vacations they'd never taken. Now it was a necessity. Renting to a stranger felt like admitting defeat, but the bills weren't going away. Just one tenant. Someone quiet. No trouble. The doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected. Daniel frowned, wiping his hands on a dish towel. Noah peeked around the corner, curious. Who's that, Dad? Probably just a delivery, Daniel muttered, though his gut told him otherwise. He opened the door to find a young woman standing on the porch, a worn suitcase at her feet. She was in her early 20s, with dark hair pulled into a loose ponytail and a nervous smile that didn't quite reach her green eyes. Her clothes were simple, a faded sweater, jeans, sneakers, but there was something polished about her posture, like she'd been taught to stand tall. Hi, she said, her voice soft but steady. I'm Lily Evans. I called about the room. Daniel blinked, caught off guard. He'd spoken to her briefly on the phone yesterday, but he hadn't expected her so soon. Right, come in. He stepped aside, suddenly aware of the cluttered living room. Noah's toys scattered on the floor, a stack of unwashed dishes in the sink. Great first impression, Dan. Lily stepped inside, her suitcase rolling quietly behind her. She glanced around, her smile warming slightly as she spotted Noah peeking from the kitchen. Hey there, she said, giving him a small wave. Noah ducked behind the counter, shy but curious. Daniel cleared his throat. It's not much, but the room's upstairs. Clean, quiet, bathrooms shared. Rent's due first of the month. You a student? Lily nodded. Yeah, at the community college, studying biology. I just need a place close to campus. Her voice was calm, but her fingers fidgeted with the strap of her bag. She's nervous, Daniel thought, but he didn't press. Everyone had their reasons for needing a cheap room. He led her up the narrow staircase to the attic room. It was small, with slanted ceilings, a single bed, a desk, and a window overlooking the backyard. Lily set her suitcase down and looked around, her expression unreadable. It's perfect, she said quietly. Can I move in tonight? Daniel raised an eyebrow. Tonight? You don't want to think it over? She shook her head, her smile tightening. I'm sure. I just need a place to settle. He studied her for a moment, searching for red flags. She seemed polite, maybe a little guarded, but harmless. Bills are piling up. She's got cash. What's the harm? All right, he said. $400 up front. No pets, no parties. My son and I keep to ourselves. Deal, Lily said, pulling an envelope from her bag and handing it over. The bills inside were crisp, almost too perfect. Daniel frowned but pocketed the money. Probably just got paid, he told himself. Downstairs, Noah was waiting, his curiosity outweighing his shyness. Are you gonna live here? He asked Lily, his voice a mix of suspicion and excitement. Lily crouched to his level, her smile genuine now. Yup, I'm your new upstairs neighbor. I'm Lily. What's your name? Noah, he said, glancing at Daniel for approval. Do you like science? Lily's eyes lit up. Love it. Ever made a baking soda volcano? Noah's face split into a grin. That's what I was just telling Dad about. You know how to make one? Oh, I've made a few, Lily said, winking. Maybe we can try it sometime. Daniel watched the exchange, a strange warmth settling in his chest. Noah hadn't smiled like that in weeks. Still, he kept his guard up. Dinner's ready, he said gruffly. Lily, you're welcome to join us. Nothing fancy. Her eyes softened. I'd like that. Thank you. The first week with Lily in the house was quieter than Daniel expected. She left early for classes, returned in the evenings, and kept to herself. But Noah was drawn to her like a moth to a flame. He'd linger in the living room when she came downstairs, peppering her with questions about stars, bugs, or whatever he'd learned in school. Lily answered with patience, even sketching diagrams on napkins to explain things like photosynthesis or the water cycle. One evening, Daniel came home late, his boots heavy with mud from a long day pouring concrete. The house smelled of garlic and tomatoes, and he froze in the doorway. Lily was at the stove, stirring a pot of sauce while Noah sat at the table, drawing. What's this? Daniel asked, his voice sharper than intended. Lily turned, unfazed. I had some extra ingredients, so I thought I'd make dinner. Spaghetti bolognese's. Hope that's okay. Daniel's jaw tightened. Charity? I don't need her pity. But Noah's excited chatter cut through his thoughts. Dad, Lily says she can teach me how to make a model rocket. Can we do it, please? He forced a nod, swallowing his pride. Sure, buddy, let's eat first. Over dinner, Lily told stories about her biology classes, describing dissections and lab experiments with a contagious enthusiasm. Noah hung on every word, and even Daniel found himself listening, his guard softening. There was something about her, easy, warm, like she belonged at their table. But there were moments that nagged at him. The way she spoke, precise and polished. The sleek phone she tucked away quickly when she thought he wasn't looking. The way she never complained about the creaky pipes or the drafty room. Who is this girl? By the second week, Lily was leaving small traces of herself in the house. A stack of library books on the coffee table. A jar of wildflowers she'd picked with Noah in the backyard. A grocery bag on the counter filled with fresh produce. Apples, carrots, even a carton of eggs. Thought we could use these, she'd said casually when Daniel asked. He didn't push, but the gesture stung. I provide for my son. Always have. One night, after Noah was asleep, Daniel found Lily in the living room, curled up on the couch with a sketch pad. She was drawing a picture of Noah, his face lit with a grin as he held a homemade kite. The detail was stunning, every curl of his hair, every freckle captured. You're good, Daniel said, surprising himself. Lily looked up, startled, then smiled. Thanks, Noah's got this light about him, makes it easy to draw. Daniel sat across from her, his hands clasped. You don't talk much about yourself. Where are you from? Her smile faltered, just for a second. Oh, you know, a small town upstate. Nothing exciting. She closed the sketch pad. What about you? How long you been in construction? He let her deflect, but the question lingered in his mind. She's hiding something. Still, he told her about his work, the long hours, the satisfaction of building something lasting. She listened, really listened, her eyes steady and kind. For the first time in years, Daniel felt seen, not as a worker or a father, but as a man. As the weeks passed, Lily became a quiet fixture in their lives. She helped Noah with his homework, taught him how to make paper airplanes, and even fixed the leaky faucet in the bathroom when Daniel was too tired to deal with it. Noah's laughter filled the house more often, and Daniel found himself looking forward to her footsteps on the stairs. But the nagging feeling never left. The envelope of crisp bills, the way she avoided questions about her family, the expensive-looking coat she kept tucked away in her closet. One evening, as Daniel tucked Noah into bed, his son whispered, Dad, do you think Lily could stay forever? Like, family? Daniel's heart clenched. Family. The word was a knife and a balm all at once. He kissed Noah's forehead. Get some sleep, buddy. But as he turned off the light, he couldn't shake the question. Who is she, really? And why does it feel like she's running from something? Outside, the streetlights flickered on Maple Street, casting a soft glow through the attic window where Lily sat, staring at her phone. A text glowed on the screen. "Lily, you can't keep hiding. Come home. We need to talk." Her finger hovered over the reply button, then she shut the phone off, her hands trembling. Not yet, she thought. I'm not ready to go back. Downstairs, Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The bills were still there, the roof still leaked, but for the first time in years the house didn't feel so empty. And that scared him more than anything. What happens when she leaves? The autumn chill had settled over Maple Street, painting the trees in fiery hues of red and gold. Inside the Hayes household, the scent of cinnamon lingered from a batch of cookies Lily had baked with Noah earlier that evening. The kitchen table was a mess of flour and mixing bowls, but the laughter that echoed through the house was worth the cleanup. Daniel leaned against the doorway, watching as Noah smeared icing on Lily's nose, her mock indignation dissolving into giggles. She's good with him, Daniel thought, a reluctant warmth spreading in his chest. But the warmth was edged with unease. Lily had been with them for nearly 2 months now, and the questions about her past were piling up like the leaves in the backyard. Noah's voice cut through his thoughts. "Lily, tell me about the stars again." He was sprawled on the living room rug, a star chart spread out in front of him, his eyes wide with wonder. Lily sat cross-legged beside him, pointing to a constellation. "That's Orion. See the 3 stars in a row? That's his belt. Hunters used to look at it to find their way home." Her voice was soft, almost reverent, as if she were sharing a secret. Noah hung on every word, sketching the stars in his notebook with a stubby pencil. Daniel watched from the kitchen, drying a plate with a worn dish towel. Lily's stories were always vivid, laced with details that felt too polished for a small-town biology student. Hunters? Who talks like that? He glanced at the grocery bags on the counter, another gift from Lily, filled with things he hadn't asked for. Fresh strawberries, a block of cheese, even a jar of fancy olives he'd never buy. His jaw tightened. "I don't need her charity. Noah and I are fine. Dad, come look," Noah called, waving him over. "Lily says we can see Orion from the backyard tonight." Daniel forced a smile, setting the plate down. "Maybe later, buddy. Gotta finish cleaning up." He caught Lily's eye, and for a moment her gaze held a flicker of something. Guilt, maybe, or worry. She looked away quickly, focusing on Noah. What's she hiding? The next morning, Daniel woke to the sound of rain drumming against the roof. The leak in the attic had gotten worse, and a bucket sat under the drip in the hallway. He cursed under his breath, pulling on his work boots, another expense he couldn't afford. As he headed downstairs, he found Lily already up, brewing coffee. She wore an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back, and she looked almost too comfortable in his kitchen. "Morning," she said, pouring him a mug. "Rough night?" "Just the usual," Daniel muttered, taking the coffee. "Roof's acting up again. Gotta call someone before it caves in." Lily hesitated, then said, "I know a guy who does roofing. Friend of a friend. I could ask him to take a look. Maybe get you a deal?" Daniel's grip tightened on the mug. "I can handle it," he said, his voice sharper than intended. "A friend of a friend? She's been here 2 months and already knows roofers?" He softened his tone. "Thanks, though. I'll figure it out." Lily nodded, but her smile was strained. "Sure. Just let me know if you change your mind." As Daniel left for work, the rain soaking through his jacket, he couldn't shake the feeling that Lily was more than she seemed. The crisp bills, the groceries, the way she sidestepped questions about her family, it all added up to something he couldn't quite name. "She's not my problem," he told himself. "She pays rent. That's enough." But the thought felt hollow. Over the next few weeks, Lily wove herself deeper into the fabric of their lives. She helped Noah with his math homework, patiently explaining fractions with slices of apple. She read him bedtime stories, her voice bringing characters to life in a way Daniel never could. One night, she even taught him how to make a makeshift telescope from a cardboard tube and a magnifying glass, the two of them giggling as they spotted stars through the attic window. Daniel watched from the sidelines, torn between gratitude and suspicion. Noah was happier than he'd been in years, his chatter filling the house with a lightness Daniel hadn't realized he'd missed. But every kind gesture from Lily felt like a debt he couldn't repay. When she slipped a new pair of sneakers into Noah's room, claiming she'd found them on sale, Daniel's pride bristled. "Does she think I can't provide for my own kid?" One evening, as he sorted through the mail, he found a medical bill from Noah's last checkup. The balance was 0, marked paid in full. Daniel's stomach dropped. He hadn't paid it. He stormed upstairs, the bill crumpled in his hand, and knocked on Lily's door. She opened it, her expression shifting from surprise to caution. "Everything okay? Did you pay this?" Daniel held up the bill, his voice low but firm. Lily's eyes widened, and for a moment she looked like a deer caught in headlights. I just called the office to check on something. They must have made a mistake." "A mistake?" Daniel's tone was skeptical. "This is a $500 bill, Lily. Mistakes don't pay that kind of money." She bit her lip, her hands fidgeting. "Okay, look, I know someone at the clinic. I asked them to look into it, and maybe they cleared it. I didn't mean to overstep." Daniel stared at her, his frustration warring with the sincerity in her eyes. "I don't need handouts," he said quietly. "Noah and I managed just fine." "I know," she said quickly. "I wasn't trying to. I just wanted to help. Noah's a great kid, and you're doing so much for him." Her voice softened. "You're a good dad, Daniel." The words hit him harder than he expected, stirring a warmth he wasn't ready to feel. He turned away, muttering, "Just don't do it again." But as he walked downstairs, the bill still in his hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that Lily's kindness wasn't pity. It was something else. But what? The neighborhood wasn't blind to Lily's presence either. Mrs. Carter, the nosy retiree next door, cornered Daniel one morning as he loaded his truck for work. "That girl living with you," she said, her voice dripping with curiosity. "She's awful sweet, but something's off. You see that fancy phone she's got? And those boots she tries to hide? Not exactly community college material, if you ask me." Daniel brushed it off with a grunt. "She pays rent. That's all I care about." But Mrs. Carter's words stuck with him, feeding the doubts that had been growing for weeks. That evening, when he saw Lily slip out to take a call in the backyard, her voice hushed and urgent, he felt a pang of unease. Who's she talking to? He didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the kitchen window was open, and her words carried on the evening breeze. "I'm fine, okay? I just need more time. Please don't." She stopped abruptly, as if sensing his presence, and hung up. When she came back inside, her smile was forced. "Just a friend checking in," she said, avoiding his gaze. Daniel didn't push, but the suspicion grew heavier. He started noticing other things. The way she hesitated before answering questions about her past, the expensive-looking watch she wore only when she thought no one was looking, the way she seemed to know things about art, literature, even finance, that didn't fit her story of a small-town upbringing. One night, Noah came downstairs with a drawing, a family portrait of himself, Daniel and Lily standing together in front of the house. "Look, Dad, it's us," he said, beaming. "Lily helped me draw it. She says families don't have to be related. They just have to love each other." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at Lily, who was watching from the couch, her expression soft but guarded. "That's real nice, buddy," he said, ruffling Noah's hair. But inside his heart churned. She's not staying forever. She's a tenant. Nothing more. Yet the thought of her leaving left a hollow ache he couldn't name. The breaking point came on a crisp November evening. Daniel was in the garage, tinkering with a broken lawnmower, when he heard tires crunch on the gravel driveway. He stepped outside, wiping grease from his hands, and froze. A sleek black SUV sat in front of the house, its polished surface gleaming under the streetlights. A man stepped out, tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored coat, his gray hair swept back. His presence was commanding, like he owned the very air around him. The man's eyes locked on the house, and he strode toward the front door with purpose. Daniel's gut twisted. Who the hell is this? He dropped his rag and followed, reaching the porch just as the man raised his hand to knock. "Can I help you?" Daniel asked, his voice low, protective. The man turned, his gaze sharp and assessing. "I'm looking for Lily Evans. I was told she's staying here." Daniel's heart thudded. "Who are you?" The man's lips pressed into a thin line. "I'm her father, Richard Evans." The name hit like a punch. Richard Evans wasn't just a name, it was a headline. The billionaire philanthropist, the man behind half the charities in the state, the face on magazine covers. Daniel's mind reeled, pieces clicking into place. The crisp bills, the fancy phone, the guarded answers. Lily's his daughter? Before he could respond, the door opened, and Lily stood there, her face pale. "Dad," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What are you doing here?" Richard's expression was a mix of anger and relief. "Enough of this nonsense, Lily. You're coming home. Now." Noah appeared behind Lily, clutching her hand, his eyes wide with fear. "Lily, are you leaving?" he asked, his voice small. Daniel's heart pounded as he looked from Lily to her father, then to Noah's pleading face. "She lied to us. She's been lying this whole time." The betrayal stung, sharp and raw, but Noah's trembling voice cut deeper. "What happens to him if she goes?" The air on Maple Street was thick with the scent of rain-soaked leaves, but inside the Hayes household, Tension crackled like static. Daniel stood on the porch, his work boots planted firmly, his hazel eyes locked on Richard Evans. The billionaire's polished presence seemed to dwarf the modest house, his tailored coat and steely gaze a stark contrast to the peeling paint and sagging steps. Behind Daniel, Lily clutched Noah's hand, her face pale, her green eyes darting between her father and the family she'd come to love. Noah's small frame trembled, his voice barely a whisper. "Lily, you're not leaving, are you?" Daniel's chest tightened. The betrayal stung. Lily had lied about who she was, had woven herself into their lives under false pretenses, but Noah's fear cut deeper. She's not just a tenant anymore. She's family to him. He turned to Richard, his voice low but firm. "You got something to say? Say it inside. This is my home." Richard's lips twitched as if unaccustomed to being challenged, but he nodded. "Very well." He stepped past Daniel, his polished shoes clicking on linoleum as he entered the living room. Lily followed, still holding Noah's hand, her expression a mix of defiance and dread. Daniel shut the door behind them, the click sounding final in the quiet house. Inside, the room felt too small for the weight of the moment. Richard stood by the couch, his posture rigid, while Lily sat with Noah on the rug, her arm around him protectively. Daniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his mind racing. "She's a billionaire's daughter. All this time, she's been playing pretend in my house. The groceries, the paid bills, the new sneakers, it all made sense now. But the why of it gnawed at him. What's she running from?" Richard broke the silence, his voice sharp. "Lily, this has gone on long enough. You can't keep hiding in this place." His eyes swept the room, lingering on the faded curtains and scuffed furniture, a faint sneer curling his lip. "You have responsibilities. A life. You can't throw it away for some childish rebellion." Lily's jaw tightened, but her voice was steady. "This isn't rebellion, Dad. This is me choosing to live on my terms, not yours." Noah looked up at her, confused. "What's he talking about, Lily? Why is he so mad?" She squeezed his shoulder, her smile strained but warm. "It's just grown-up stuff, Noah. Don't worry." But her eyes betrayed her, flickering with fear. He's going to lose her, Daniel thought, his heart aching for his son. "And maybe I am too." Daniel cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Somebody want to explain what's going on? Lily, you told me you were a student. Just a student. Now I'm hearing you're, what? An heiress?" The word felt foreign on his tongue, like something from a movie, not his life. Lily's shoulders slumped and she looked at him, her eyes pleading. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to lie. I needed to get away, to be someone else for a while." Richard scoffed. "Someone else? You're Lillian Evans, my daughter. You have a legacy to uphold, charities, foundations, a future. You can't just walk away from that to play house with strangers." "They're not strangers." Lily's voice rose, sharp and fierce. "Daniel and Noah are more family to me than you've ever been. They don't care about my last name or your money. They care about me." The words hung in the air, raw and heavy. Noah's eyes widened, and he clung tighter to Lily. Daniel felt a pang in his chest, a mix of pride and pain. She means it, but she still lied. He turned to Richard, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. "She's been good to us. Good to my son. If she's running from you, maybe you should ask yourself why." Richard's face darkened. "You don't know anything about our family, Mr. Hayes. Lily's been indulged her whole life. Private schools, world travel, every opportunity handed to her. And this is how she repays me? By throwing it all away to live in a crumbling house with a man who can't even pay his bills?" The words hit like a sledgehammer. Daniel's fists clenched, his pride roaring. He's right. I'm barely keeping it together. But before he could respond, Lily stood, her eyes blazing. "Don't you dare talk about Daniel like that. He works harder in a day than you ever have. He's raising Noah alone, giving him love you wouldn't understand. You think money makes you better? It doesn't. It just makes you lonely." Richard flinched, the first crack in his polished armor. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the soft drip of the leaky roof into the bucket upstairs. Noah's voice piped up, small but fierce. "Lily's not lonely here. She's happy. She makes me happy too." Daniel looked at his son, his heart swelling. "He's braver than I am." He stepped closer to Noah, resting a hand on his shoulder. "Noah's right. Lily's been good for us. But I need the truth. Lily, no more secrets. Why'd you come here? Why'd you lie?" Lily took a shaky breath, her eyes glistening. "I grew up with everything. Money, tutors, a mansion. But it was a cage. My dad decided my friends, my career, even who I should marry someday. I felt like a prop in his perfect life. When I turned 22, I told him I wanted to study biology, to live simply, to find out who I am without his name. He laughed, said I'd fail without his help. She looked at Daniel, her voice softening. So I left. I found your ad online and it felt right. A real home, with real people. I didn't tell you who I was because I didn't want you to see me as Richard Evans' daughter. I wanted to be Lily. Just Lily. Daniel's throat tightened. He saw the truth in her eyes, the longing for something real, something he and Noah had given her without knowing it. But the betrayal still stung. You should have told me. I trusted you with my son. I know, she whispered, tears spilling over. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I never meant to hurt you. I love it here, with you and Noah. For the first time, I feel like I belong. Richard stepped forward, his voice softer now but still firm. Lily, you don't belong here. You have a life waiting, a purpose. You can't throw that away for a fantasy. It's not a fantasy, she snapped. This is my life now. I choose it. Noah's voice broke through, trembling but determined. Dad, don't let her go. Please. She's like my sister. The word sister hit Daniel like a tidal wave. He looked at Noah, then at Lily, her face raw with hope and fear. She lied, but she loves him. Maybe she loves me too in her own way. His pride warred with his heart. He'd spent years building walls, protecting himself and Noah from loss. Letting Lily in meant risking that pain again. But sending her away meant breaking Noah's heart, and maybe his own. He took a deep breath, turning to Richard. You heard her. She's made her choice. This is her home now if she wants it. But it's gotta be honest. No more lies. Lily's eyes widened, a sob catching in her throat. You mean that? Daniel nodded, his voice gruff. You're family to Noah. To me too, I guess. But no more secrets. You stay. You're one of us. For real. Richard's face hardened, but there was a flicker of something else. Resignation maybe, or understanding. Lily, if this is what you want, I won't force you. But you're walking away from everything I built for you. I don't want what you built, she said quietly. I want this. A real family. Richard stood silent for a long moment, then turned to Daniel. Take care of her. She's all I have. His voice cracked, betraying the man behind the billionaire. He walked out without another word, the SUV's engine roaring to life as it pulled away. The next evening, the Hayes house was quiet, the tension replaced by a fragile warmth. Daniel, Lily, and Noah sat around the kitchen table, a simple meal of spaghetti and garlic bread spread before them. The leaky roof still dripped, the bills still loomed, but the laughter that filled the room was louder. Noah chattered about a new science project. Lily sketched constellations on a napkin, and Daniel watched them, his heart full. Hey Lily, Noah said, his mouth full of spaghetti. You're staying forever, right? Lily glanced at Daniel, her smile soft and certain. As long as you'll have me, kiddo. Daniel met her gaze, a weight lifting from his shoulders. Family isn't about money or blood. It's about who stays, who fights for you, who makes you laugh when the world feels heavy. He raised his glass of water, a rare grin breaking through. To us, the Hayes family. +1. They clinked glasses, Noah's giggle echoing through the house. Outside, the stars shone bright over Maple Street. Orion's belt, a quiet promise that they'd all found their way home. And as the night settled around them, the truth was clear. True wealth wasn't measured in dollars or legacies. It was in the love they'd built, the trust they'd earned, and the family they'd chosen. One meal, one laugh, one moment at a time.